All right, so this video is a little bit of a revision from my last video, which focused on wand combinations or wand combos. After doing some thinking and playing around with Darkfall Solace solos, I realized I was overlooking a very important factor when it comes to wand lover combos, specifically on enemy down, but in general, but it's very important on enemy down, that we have to change our wand lover combos in certain situations. But to understand that, we have to understand what is going on specifically with element and physical down. So what you're seeing on the screen, very simple, is the usual, not always. There are some enemies where their downs are longer. I don't think there's one that's down shorter. But usually most element physical downs are about 600 frames or 10 seconds. Now, you might be asking, well, why do we have 600 to 640 frames? Technically, even though the enemy is recovering from a down in about 10 seconds, they're still in that down state for probably another second, but to be safe, probably for another half second. So I've kind of split the difference and said, you have another 40 frames. So you can imagine, let's say Bujin or Wukong or whoever, as they're getting up, especially on the element down where their colors changed due to the freeze effect, they'll still have that coloration even though they're moving around. Once they start attacking and that coloration is gone, that's usually when the element down window has finished. So I want you to keep these numbers in mind. We are working with a down time frame of 600 to 640 seconds. Now, let's look at our wand lovers wave crash, this icon right here. On the top corner of wave crash equals wand lovers. Because once again, when we don't have wand lovers, we don't even really consider the wave crash combo as something that we really want to do unless it makes sense from an enemy attack pattern standpoint. So we have wave crash, which cancels into wave crash. And let me back up. The first hit of wave crash canceled into the first hit of wave crash that then goes into your skip arts, which is your normal 3, normal 4. The total frames of this combo is 213, which means that in 639 frames, you will have built element pursuit. Once again, this condition is as if the enemy down occurs when you have 0 pursuit meter. So, you can play around and things will change based on that gauge. But if we're starting going from 0 to 100, it's going to take 639 frames to build a full pursuit. For those who might not be aware, the pursuit meter is 10,000. Now, our pursuit meter rates are increased based on enemy modifiers. So basically, for example, Wave Crash, which is Photonic Fury level 2, does 200 element pursuit per hit, but you multiply that by 3 and that gives you your amount essentially when it comes to bosses. So if you wanted to do a full element pursuit combo with wand lovers wave crash combo, you're going to have to do 3 of those combos to build the pursuit, and then an additional 84 frames. I left it at 83 just for this. It's going to be 722 frames. Now, where is the issue here? Well, as we know, in general, we only have 600 to 640 frames to work with. So there's even a chance that you don't even build pursuit during that down window, and you're definitely not going to be using pursuit during that down. Now, why is pursuit important to use during down? A couple of reasons. For some enemies, when they're down, that's the only time that their weak spot is exposed. That one's kind of a gimme. The other reason is that when they're down, you have the added bonus of shift to down. So once again, shift to gives 5% normally. When the enemy is down, it gives an additional 5%. On top of that, if you've been keeping up with your add-on skills, specifically Slayer, you also have crit rate down, which at level 20, I believe, is 15%. You can calculate damage from crit rate. It's more of just like an average damage, so it's not like actual potency, but essentially if you were to use the same move over and over again. What is the effective potency you get from crit rate? And so at 15%, if your crit rate, or excuse me, if your crit damage modifier is 32%, you're looking at about, off the top of my head, 4.8%. So if you do some multipliers using Element Pursuit on down compared to not using it on down, on average is effectively a 10% increase. So in this Wave Crash Wand Lovers combo, you are not getting that bonus. I had overlooked that, and it kind of nonchalantly said, hey, yeah, when you have Wand Lovers, you should just use your Wave Crash N3, N4 combo. That's not true. And even against bosses that are active but are slower, you might also want to change your approach. We're going to get into that in a little bit. But now let's just look at Swift Smash. Swift Smash T3. Once again, Swift Smash T2 is no longer the king. You know, it does certain things well, like range and speed. But when it comes to bossing, when it comes to building pursuit, which is our main damage, more or less, T3 is now, at least in my opinion, is now king. T2 still has its uses, but in general, T3 is the go-to. Very, very simple. Just Swift Smash, which is 130 frames. You do 4 of them. So Swift Smash without any guard frames. We're not going to worry about guard frames because this is on enemy down. Does 1,000 pursuit. So if you multiply that by 3, it does 3,000 pursuit, which means it takes 4 to get that 10,000 pursuit limit, but really it builds 12,000 overall. Whatever. 520 frames to build pursuit compared to the Wave Crash Wand Lovers combo of 639. So we are well within our time frame during that enemy down. And so you can actually use the pursuit combo. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but Einhander, yes, on paper it's 130 frames. We have to account for human error. We might want to add another 5 frames. Sure, it still technically fits within that window, but in our next case, and this is the thing I overlooked, even if we did want to account for that additional 5 frames, it's not that big of a deal. Now, what is going on? Weapon action cancel. I had known about this, but didn't really apply it and really think about what this truly means. If you look back at the Techter expansion patch notes back in October 1st, or somewhere in October, I believe it was October 1st, but early October, one of the changes they made to Swift Smash was that for charged Swift Smash, it had increased animation cancel frames off of step, but also the weapon action, or in this case, it would be Wand Guard. So if you were to use charged Swift Smash and then use your weapon action, you're canceling between 7 to 12 frames. I'm not too sure. I want to say 7, but I also want to say 12. So I'm just giving both numbers. This is not a range. When I say 118 to 123, it's just whether it's 12 frames or 7 frames of animation cancel, this is what we're working with. Well, the great thing about this is that the way that you engage Element Pursuit is through your weapon action. So if you have Element Pursuit after Swift Smash and you use your weapon action triggering Element Pursuit, your pursuit combo is going to be 591 to 596 frames. So even if you add that additional 20 frames, taking into account human error, so adding 5 frames per Swift Smash, you're still within that 600 range. I had overlooked this. This, even when you're not even looking at Wand Lovers, on down, Swift Smash is still the way to go. However, you can couple this with Wand Lovers, which will increase your potency a little bit. I'd say about what? About 100, if I'm remembering the math correctly. But in order to use this, and I'll do a quick demonstration as well, you have to be very, very particular about your order. And so what is the combo? The combo is charge Swift Smash into charge Swift Smash What this does is that this now triggers your wand skip arts. And so we're going to go directly into wand skip arts, which is your N3, N4. And then you finish it off with a final Swift Smash. Why? Because at this point, you will have full pursuit, as you see, with 523 frames, which is a little, my math, this number might be a little off. This number's off. This is an error. But it is going to be slower than just doing normal Swift Smash, but we are sacrificing some frames for additional damage due to Wand Lover's N3, N4. But we've still built a full pursuit with 11,400 meter being built for this combo. That last Swift Smash, this is why this is here, and it's not before the wand skip arts, is because this allows us to go into our weapon action animation cancel, which triggers our element pursuit. And as we see, it's a couple of frames slower, but not really. You know, it's 3 frames, so this is an error. Ignore this 523. Essentially add 3 frames to 508 and 513. You have a pursuit combo of 594 to 599 frames. Now, what does this mean with regards to DPS? DPS gets a little funky because I use Encore Jump. And so when I make these calculations, because I can use Encore Jump consistently, and especially since they nerfed it, it's not that hard. When you look at your Wave Crash combo, it roughly comes out to about 452 frames. When you look at your Swift Smash combo and include Pursuit, and let me back up, the Wave Crash combo does not include Pursuit. But we're ignoring that because using Pursuit not on enemy down is a big potency, a big damage difference when you think about the bonuses and multipliers, especially if you crit. This full combo, this Swift Smash T3 with Wand Lovers is about, I want to say, including Encore Jump, depending on the actual cancellation frames, about 490 to 495 DPS. If you're just looking at regular Swift Smash, I believe that DPS drops to 475. Either way, both Swift Smash options from a DPS standpoint will beat out Wave Crash, especially since Wave Crash will not, in most situations, be able to use Element Pursuit on down. Why is this important? Well, now we get into a situation to where we can look at this combo and compare it to compound techniques, specifically Fomelgion, though you can look at the other compounds as well, like Baranstein. And what I'm here to tell you is that technically you can use this combo and not spend your compound meter. This combo can either match the power of Fomelgion over time. So if you think about what is the DPS that Fomelgion or compound techniques are adding to your DPS on down, this combo, as long as you're pulling off that element pursuit on down, will match it. If not, in some cases, beating it. Why this is important is because this frees up real estate to use those compound techniques in more optimal situations. If you go back to one of my older videos a couple of weeks ago where we talk about the compound technique flowchart, one of the things that I stated was you want to use compound techniques when you cannot use any other attack to attack the enemy. This usually means it's pre-fire because they're out of range for whatever reason. Well, element down is not a situation where you can't attack with other things. Then the conversation or the question you have to ask yourself was, do I have an attack that outweighs compound techniques? And in fact, you do. Especially if you look at compound techniques over time. Now, what do I mean by that? Once again, we're still working in that 600 frame window, right? That's your element down window. Fomelgion, as in our example, is 248 frames. So just shy of half of that down window. And it's about 500 some odd DPS. So even then, it's still more DPS than this combo that we're looking at right now. However, you have to figure out what you're doing with those additional 350 more or less frames. And when you start saying, okay, well, what other attacks can I do? That 500 DPS starts to drop a little bit. Now, of course, you could, if you have Megid Blot, you can do a Megid Type 2, or you can do a G Megid Blot, which will keep your DPS high, but it still starts to diminish over time because you do not have an attack that can sustain it. So when we start comparing DPS over time, we know that this Swift Smash Pursuit combo is going to get us about 490, 495 DPS within 600 frames. Your compound technique combo might equal that. But once again, in using your compound technique there, you're wasting it and not having the situation to use it where it's actually most optimal. And so in these situations, you can, and I would say, in fact, should opt to be using the Swift Smash Type 3 combo, especially when you have wand lovers active. Where are situations where you don't want to use this combo? And I'm going to show you some examples as well at the end. Where you don't want to use this combo is when you do have other high DPS moves that you can chain on to Fomelgion or another compound technique, because those attacks are not going to drop your DPS over time. Those are pretty simple. Your Photon Blast and another compound technique. Of course, if you have Element Pursuit already built, sure, you can then opt for going for Fomelgion, because when you do that plus compound technique, it is high DPS that is going to carry you over those 10 seconds. But in this situation, let's just imagine you don't have Element Pursuit. So it's Photon Blast and it's another compound technique. In those situations, you want to forego this Swift Smash Wand Lovers combo and focus on your burst. But that can be highly dependent on where you are in the fight and the boss that you are fighting. So for example, if we look at Herzig and Purple Trigger, generally how you want to structure your downs and manage your resources, you want to burst. You want to do Photon Blast into compound technique. But in situations where you aren't able to build those resources and the downs aren't as long, and you're saying, hey, I've only got one compound technique, should I use it right now? You have other options. That being the Swift Smash Wand Lovers combo, or in certain situations, the Swift Smash combo. Let's get into how this combo works, and then I'm going to demonstrate in some runs with Bujin and Wukong how it competes or how it compares using the Swift Smash T3 Wand Lovers combo versus Fomelgion. Charge Swift Smash. Charge Swift Smash. N3, N4. Charge Swift Smash into Element Pursuit. And as you noticed, the animation cancel on Element Pursuit, I want to say it's 12 because it's pretty quick when you look at it from this angle. But that is effectively the combo that you want to use on down. So a little revision. Apologies for overlooking this, but you know, we caught it, we've corrected it. So this is something you want to work on, especially on downs. But once again, it's also will work on some enemies where you have the ability to charge Swift Smash more often. Now what we're going to do for the rest of this video, so we're going to show you some runs using this combo versus using a compound technique, specifically Fomelgion on down, for both Bujin and Wukong, just to kind of see the time difference. Which one performs better? Do they perform better? Are they equal? Kind of gives you a sense of why you can now save your compound techniques for other situations. Let me know, of course, your thoughts and comments, and I will catch you all next time.